You think you can hear me online? Yes. Thank you so much. I want to thank my colleague here. I'm so happy that whoever thought to bring these two women, you've also made something that we've been looking for each other in the spaces of this university. But thank you to Refa, the NMU chapter, for bringing us together, because I've been looking for her, you know, and she's been looking for me. And today we find the common ground and we had a chat. I sort of thought, let me go through what I was requested to do and try and fill in what the students were asking me. One of the questions that was asked was the importance of using a language in teaching economics issues. And to me, whoever decided to ask that question, you really touched on my heart. Because to me, Sis Nomalanga, the language is so important. We once undertook a research whilst I was at the Missionville campus called Vista University at that time, where we went to schools, Sis Nomalanga, and we were saying, to the Model C schools, and we were saying, why our kids are not passing English, but they are speaking English. They're not passing Afrikaans. isiXhosa was not there at that time, you know? And we find there's a dilemma that our own children are in these schools, but they don't know how to speak isiXhosa. They speak the slang of isiXhosa. They don't know how to write. Bakhala ngomphoqoqo, hayi umphoqoqo. You know the difference of then which language are they going to know? And you know, because language is your identity. Ubuena, whether you, as Africans, whatever language. So I want to put a challenge to you guys and say, you have to like your language. More than liking it, you have to know it. You have to speak it properly. You know, there's the reading, there's the reading, there's the writing, there's the speaking. Those are 3 different things. And I'm encouraging students. There was a reason we took you to those Model C schools. And when Sis Nomalanga, in one of the schools where my daughter was, and when we were enforcing isiXhosa with a mandate into those schools, and I was walking up and I said, principal, I do have a candidate from Vista University, uzawuqala, and he's going to be able to teach. And it was Sis Nomalanga in that meeting where the black parents were against it. Yeah. No, our children haven't learned isiXhosa. They went to preschools. They went to this. And they were slanging. Black parents slanging, not up to it. And so we had to sacrifice our children and say, and they were saying, with her sport politics. And in the meantime, we were seeing that there was a problem, because come the kids into grade 12, they're not passing the English, they're not passing the Afrikaans. So we have a problem. And then what happened, I think some of you will know, Unoma Wetu. She was a student that had a disability. I was woken up with her disability. They had a netball accident, and I thought, yeah, that's it, I'm going to use this. She had to come to the school, the special school, and there was no isiXhosa. And here was my terrain for me to introduce isiXhosa, because her subjects, she was already in matric, and her subjects were including isiXhosa in the school she was. So we had to look for what? For an isiXhosa teacher. So, as I've said, to me, language helps students to learn the content more and be able to expand their ideas. To me, language is without any doubt an important factor in the learning process, because it is how you communicate with each other. Very important. I'm not going to read through some of this, but I think it's important to say language communicates the intended meaning, being a vehicle to achieve the set goals, and it's not an end in itself. Hence, you have to speak the language properly. I become very sensitive. I know sometimes with my Sotho friends, and they say, oh, Madubele is going to come, utsokhile. And then they say, yo, Madubele, you're speaking Sotho in a isiXhosa accent. But at least I'm trying. At least I'm trying. Ladies and gentlemen, economics is about an everyday life. When I was chased away, Sis Nomalanga, from that history class, because I was asking the teacher, where's the stories about she? Why must I learn about he? I wanted to know the human stories. I wanted to learn. And I was chased away. And I always say thank you to that teacher, because it landed me into an economics class. And I had to learn about things that I see every day. And so to me, a lot of the economics that we learn, we tend to see it that it is difficult because we don't see it as part of our lives. If you get into a taxi, in fact, if you wake up in the morning, you have to decide, am I going to use a bus or am I going to use a taxi? You know, that's a decision. That is a choice that you have to make to decide whether you're going to be at NMU or you're going to be at UCT. It's a choice. That is what economics is about. Economics is not, we should not make it to be far from our daily lives. It's part. Hence, you will see that economics is done by students from the different faculties in university. I'm going to try. Ladies and gentlemen, I love isiXhosa, Sis Nomalanga. But in 1976, after I didn't study in 76, my mother then took me to Zululand, and I had to learn isiZulu because we had to pass. But Sis Nomalanga, the beauty is that being umXhosa and knowing isiXhosa, it never parted with me. And so, what I have been saying, the fact that I want to read it in isiXhosa, and I like reading, and I'm going to explain it to those who are not Xhosa speaking. Kuxhaphakile ukuva abantu besithi amaxesha ngamanye. Linene elo kuba kambe lamaxesha angoku matsha kwaye eza nenguqu ngenguqu. Kule mihla nje siphila kwilizwe elinenkqubela phambili kuba linxalenye yesizwe zehlabathi. Loo nto iyodwa ifuna abafundi abantetho isiXhosa ukuba mababhinqele phezulu. What we are saying, I would have loved one of the students to do an interpretation. I like interaction because you're all looking at me. Who's a isiXhosa student who wants to volunteer and interpret that? Come guys, who wants? You not direct translation, give us the meaning towards it. Who wants to try? Okay, all right.
I think what Ma'am is trying to say is, is that despite being one with the nation in terms of all the United Sphere, in terms of being a global, part of the global economy or part of the global community, but you need to also be in tap with your own understanding of where you are, not only the language, but the language comes a culture, comes values, comes institutional knowledge that you have to understand. So even though we are part of the global community or the village, but we still also to remain true to our own selves and what is it that we bring to that bigger community that we are part of.
Thank you so much. Hold it there. Kwimbali zelilizwe loMzantsi Afrika, iilwimi zesintu azizange zisiwe liso, zazibekelwe ecaleni ngenxa yenkqubo yocalucalulo. Kungoko abafundi abamnyama banyanzelwa ukuba bafunde ulwimi lwesiBhulu, oku kwenza ukuba abafundi bele xesha babhikishe ngonyaka ka-1976. Ubhikisha, I think it's Zulu. You see, that's what happens. There comes my Zulu angle. It's not ukubhikisha, you see, this is what the language is, because that was a mix. Yes, Puti, can you interpret that for me?
There was a discrimination against our own languages, meaning the African languages, not only in a sense of Africa, but especially in the context of South Africa, where you were not allowed to speak or use your own mother tongue in a taught-based class, and then maybe because of the apartheid system using Afrikaans and English. So in 1976, students had no choice but to rebel against the system, which we know as the uprising.
Okay. Ulwimi lesisixhobo senkqubela phambili kufuneka luqulunqwe, luciciyelwe yimfundo ethe xhaxhe esemgangathweni. Ngumcelimngeni ke lo kubafundi-ntsapho nakubafundi jikelele. Iincwadi ezihambelana nesi siphuhliso, le nkqubela phambili kufuneka zibhalwe ngeelwimi zethu, hayi ezasemzini. Kufuneka zijonge nzulu ngezinto esinqwenela ukuzifunda, sizazi thina bantwana abantetho isisiXhosa. Kaloku ukwazi kokona kubalulekileyo kule mihla, ngokuba kuthetha ukuthi umntu lowo uyakwazi ukuqhagamshelana nezinye izintlanga esazi nzulu ngaloo meko kufundwa ngayo.
Okay. What Mama is saying is that we need scholars, African scholars, to be specific, that have a deeper understanding and knowledge when it comes to our own language, and then use that knowledge in creating co-curriculum material, in the form of textbooks that can be used to translate the context in the case of economics, knowing economics in your own Xhosa in order to better understand and know what is it that you have to do once you have engaged and contain that knowledge that comes through understanding Xhosa and the economics.
Abafundi abamnyama abaphumeleli kakuhle kwizifundo zesiNgesi nezesiBhunu kuba zifundiswa kwinqanaba eliphezulu ingathi lulwimi labo. Ezi zifundo ke ziqukethwe amagama angenabudlelwane nobomi babo kuba bemnyama entla, kuba kunzima ukufumana inkcazelo. Izifundo zolwimi lwesiXhosa kufuneka ziphale phambili kubufundi abathetha ulwimi lwesiXhosa. Leyo yinyaniso engangqingwanga. Oku kwenzela ukuba abafundi bangatsali nzima ekuqondeni nzulu ngemiba ethile kwizifundo. Umfundi uzakwazi uqonda eyona ntsingiselo iyo ukwenzela ukuba ahlangule lula abahlali kwaye ezazi nzulu izinto zezi zifundo zakhe aphumelele ngamalengiso.
On the first part, Umama, what is saying is that black students in particular, when they come into these former model school schools, they have to learn English, which is of higher level when it comes to them understanding it. So to grapple with that is the first challenge that they deal with. And number two, trying to translate what you have learned in English to your own understanding, which is very fundamental in you being able to know what is it that you have to study and be able to do despite the challenges that you deal with in order to be able to achieve better results. Meaning language in this case is an issue that propelled many not to get good marks based on not them understanding the English, same as the university in the second language.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the time, I'm not going to go through the context because I'm sure, but I just want to say a little bit, what is it that Tina we must do? Because this is a reality. Sis Nomalanga, I deal with first years, and most of these first years are coming from Mbizana, Qugqwala, Etikeni, Flagstaff, you know, in those areas where lecturers or their teachers were code switching. And they come to me, and in fact I ask in class, guys, is there anybody who has seen the computer but hasn't touched the computer? And of course they private me. You would wonder and be amazed, Sis Nomalanga. I call it a struggle. A struggle. And where I've had to physically sometimes go and communicate with the chiefs in those areas, or communicate with the ward councillors in those cases, where some of the tutors are going with me, and we actually had to teach the students. They've seen a laptop, but they've never touched a laptop. And we are then expecting them to say, guys, there's a test on the Moodle side, you know? And then they ask me, what is the Moodle side? How do you get to the Moodle side? I mean, I'm telling you of genuine situations. And these are the situations that we face and that we have to deal with. And my request to students is that we must love our language first. We must be able to go to those platforms that are available for us to access, so that we can know. For instance, in my class, Sis Nomalanga, if an Afrikaans a student asks me a question, I tell them to say it in Afrikaans, because I will see how they struggle to Englishise themselves when they are Afrikaans. And so it teaches us, Sis Nomalanga, that it is a struggle to the student and it's a struggle to the lecturer, because even us as lecturers have to be multilingual. Hence we speak of multilingualism, because I let John speak in Afrikaans and then I have to interpret. And sometimes you find John says, oh, can you really speak the language? Ma'am, I didn't know. So allowing students, even this is Xhosa, but I tell the Sotho students, Buwa hanya. I tell the Shona students, I know it a little bit, but giving students to be able to ask a question after a lesson in their own, you don't have to be embarrassed with that. Why are you embarrassed? Because now you are used to the way you speak, but now in order for this particular class, so it becomes, when Sis Nomalanga, a rule in my class that these words do not have ears. And that what we do here, we do. So people are not going to speak English to Englishise themselves, you know, because I really want a person, when they ask, they have to ask in their own language if they can, but not to speak English such that you understand what Sis Nomalanga was saying. So what must we do? Part of what we must do is to ensure that our universities invest in resources to ensure that the chosen African languages are well developed and institutionalized. Well done, Sis Nomalanga, to that, because I know you are part, you have a project, we also have projects on the other side. identifying means through which the development of the chosen language can be financially supported. Because we have to support it. They are not there. And I'm saying that we have the pleasure now, Sis Nomalanga, to train those staff members who have deficiencies in these languages and exploring the preferred alternative language on all audiovisual materials. I have a bilingual child, and I can tell you when students go into that bilingual child, they know that 80% is in isiXhosa. So it's students that understand the language. But we can use English, that's why it's bilingual. We can use another one. But can I tell you something interesting that I've seen? I've seen that not only those students who speak isiXhosa, but yes, that are attending those classes. So we want to begin to address the problem, but we need you as students to realize that you are going to use those platforms and not to be embarrassed by going to any isiXhosa class. To use indigenous African languages in curriculum design. To me, that is part of decolonizing. That are you guys ready for us to do that? Because we need to make sure that you guys are ready, that you are ready as students that have an understanding of isiXhosa. The bad part about it is for us to do these things, but you guys don't want it. Or for you guys not to be ready for it, because it looks like there's some status issue. You know, there's some status. Allowing students, as I said, we have talked about using African languages to explain and help students understand God, and using African languages to write research reports. Sis Nomalanga, I'm part of a group with isiXhosa lecturers from across the universities. We are busy with a book and writing research methodologies in isiXhosa. But the issue is, are you ready to read this? I've written a book, Isigama Zoqoqosho, Economic Terms and Concepts Made Simple. How many of us have bought that book? How many of us are using? Or are we saying, you know, it's like, you know? And what I'm saying is we need you as students to support us. Because us talking about it, no prof, is not going to make use. It's going to be a situation, you want it for them, but you need, because it's development, we need to go with you, not for you. So you need to be part of the equation and not to say, I'm not going to go to that isiXhosa class. So as students, we need to ensure that we also play our part. I thank you.